a millionaire heir, meth addiction, and a mansion filled with animatronic corpses. This isn't fiction. This is the true story behind one of horror's strangest films and the filmmaker who died before it was ever released. What's up, horror fam? Steven, AKA Bojangles here, and come closer, my friends. I have something scary to tell you. Today, Anna and I are discussing the very tragic real-life story of Andrew Getty and his decade-long obsession with creating his own horror film. But his descent into madness is more disturbing than anything that would ever appear on screen. Forget the tea, we're spilling the guts on this one. Sit back and enjoy, horror fam. And I think it goes without saying that I am very excited for today's topic. And I know that's a little bit morbid, but I just learned about this story and it has kind of like fascinated me, to be honest.
Right, as soon as you heard about it, it really got its hooks in you.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, This is like, if this had taken place a little bit later, like if the time frame was just a little bit later, I feel like this could have been like, and there had been a documentary crew around, I feel like this could almost be like some Tiger King stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. If he had been filming behind the scenes footage, you know, if a documentary crew had gotten wind of what was happening.
Yeah.
And asked him, like, can we just want to watch what's happening. We just want to talk to you about what you're doing. Oh yeah, that footage would have been incredible, I think. Yeah.
Horror fam, strap yourselves in because this is a crazy story about a man who essentially decided that he is not going to pursue his family interests. He comes from a family of oil tycoons, and we're talking...
Oh, one of the oldest oil families in the United States.
Yeah, and kind of like a late 90s teenage angst rebellion movie, he decides that he doesn't want to take part in the family business. He wants to make it on his own merit. He is absolutely fascinated with film, very specifically horror films. So he is a wannabe filmmaker. That's what he wants to do. The only difference is... those kind of stories usually involve, you know, the rebellious teenager. They're a little bit on the financially challenged side.
Right.
This dude is an heir to a family fortune.
That's right.
So this story gets pretty crazy, but to tell it, to give it the... what would you say, Anna?
Just the proper background,
the proper background that it deserves. Let's talk about the man who started it all, John Paul Getty. And I know that name sounds familiar to everybody. Getty Images, Getty Museum, all that stuff. Yeah, you're thinking of the right guy.
Those Gettys.
Right? This was the original Getty tycoon. He made his first million by the age of 25 years old, Anna. 25 years old.
That's outrageous.
Most people are just coming out of college. You know, they just canceled their first Playboy subscription.
No, but tell them when he made his first million, because I feel like we throw around $1 million these days, and it meant a whole entire $1 million meant something different back when he made $1 million.
It was right at the turn of the 20th century. He was working on his father's oil fields, and then he was able to retire in 1917 and moved to where everybody in the world wants to be, Los Angeles, California, especially back then.
Yeah.
Right? People died to get there. Literal. Hell, still do.
Yeah, it's true.
But this dude retired and was already a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? At 25 years old. But...
that would be the life.
That would be, right? Like, I feel like, man... the average 25-year-old is still struggling with the cook times on some dino nuggies.
Right.
In this day and age. I know
just learned how to make your very own top ramen.
But this dude, he was a go-getter, man, because that retirement didn't last long. He only was retired for 2 years, but still managed to accomplish a lot during those 2 years. He failed 3 times at marrying women.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then he decided to come back into the oil game, just throw his hat right back into the ring. But this time he came in swinging, baby.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, yes.
Here we go.
Because during the Great Depression, when people were, I mean, this era lives up to its name, for God's sakes. People were losing absolutely everything, right? This dude goes in and he just starts scooping up oil leases in the Midwest. Like it was a freaking fire sale, baby. He found the Kmart blue light special and took advantage.
Yeah, people were fleeing their family farms in the Midwest because of the Dust Bowl.
Yeah. But this dude absolutely thrived. He thrived so well that by 1957, Forbes had named him one of the richest men, not in just America, but on planet Earth.
Wow.
On planet Earth.
Yeah.
But dude wasn't just known for his money either. Oh, no. That wasn't good enough for an infamous playboy like good old John Paul Getty, baby. He'd end up being married like 5 times, divorced 5 times.
Woo.
Oh, yeah. He was slinging that thing around, baby.
I guess so.
And had more rumored affairs than you can even care to count.
Ugh.
Right? Like this dude was getting it in. But despite all of that wealth, okay, I mean, he's Scrooge McDuck here, Anna.
No.
Because let me tell you something. He had a reputation, I mean, one of the richest men on the planet, for being a cheapo. He was a cheapskate.
Oh, I've heard.
Dude, get ready, because you're not going to believe this. He had a payphone installed in his mansion.
No.
Yeah. If you want, yes.
I mean,
you wanted to use that John Paul Getty landline, baby, you're going to pay for it.
That's hilarious. Because I've heard some gnarly stories of his stinginess, so to speak. But that one's ridiculous. Like, that's hilarious. Like,
right.
Who? What?
So, I mean, this is the Getty family. Patriarch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
you know, it's funny because I grew up in Los Angeles. So I grew up going on school trips to the Getty museums. There are 2. And you don't hear those stories, right?
no.
You know, because you think about these people whose, you know, homes and their art collections or whatever are now for public viewing. And you think, oh, that, you know, that probably got left in their will or whatever. These are some generous folk.
No.
Nope.
As a matter of fact, he was actively against being a philanthropist. That was
Wow.
not.
I could see that.
Yeah, that was not his style. But over the course of a life like that and this legacy family, I mean, this is one of the families that built America. You could say, right? And a lot of things happen to these families, just like any other family, so much so that there is a lot of people believe that there's actually what's called a Getty curse.
Wow.
Because over the years, a lot of family members died untimely deaths. But I mean, this is, you know what I'm saying? This is the beginning of the 20th century, right? Like,
yeah.
a lot of bad stuff happened. 12-year-olds were passed. I mean, it was hard to keep a kid alive.
Yeah.
It's like, so there is a lot of family tragedy in there, and a lot of it's really dark too, like, you know, alcoholism, drug use, and stuff like that. But I wouldn't say, I mean, I can sit here and tell you my life story, and you'd be like, oh my God, Stephen's curse.
There's a curse. There's a family curse here.
Yeah. You know, in his short years alive, there is a Stephen curse.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, yeah, there's a lot that went on. And a lot of people actually believe that the man who is going to be the topic of this podcast today, the main topic, Andrew Getty, a lot of people believe that he was a victim of this curse.
Wow.
And of course, we're going to dig into that. But with such a dark history and all of these deaths and all of this substance abuse and all this, I have to say one of the most shocking things is a story that you read to me last night.
Yeah.
I had heard of this before, admittedly.
Yeah. But not the details.
Not to the way you described, not to the extent that you described it, and also like, I forgot that it was this family. Ooh. So now the dots are coming together.
Got it. Okay.
So I have heard this story, so I'm going to let you tell the horror fam this absolutely insane true story of what happened to one of John Paul Getty's grandchildren?
Yes. Which is one of Andrew's cousins.
Yes.
Okay, so that's how close of a connection this is, okay? Mm-hmm. All right, now I'm going to read the story because I don't want to leave anything out.
Oh, it's good.
Okay. All right. In Rome on July 10th, 1973, Ndrangheta kidnappers abducted Getty's 16-year-old grandson, John Paul Getty III, and demanded $17 million, which would have been the equivalent to over $120 million today.
Ooh,
okay.
God.
The family suspected a ploy by the rebellious teenager to extract money from his miserly grandfather. Mistake number one.
Yeah.
John Paul Getty Jr., his father, asked his own father, so the third's grandfather, for the money, but was refused, arguing that his 13 other grandchildren could also become kidnapping targets if he paid.
Well, we wouldn't want that. Not because the children's lives would be in turmoil, but because his fortune.
Oh, heaven forbid. We should just...
you'd have a better chance of wrestling some honey away from a grizzly bear, right?
Maybe pay the money and tighten security for the rest of your family. I mean, it's just an idea. But anyways.
Those are big brain thoughts, Anna. Come on now.
So he refused to pay. This is July. He's refused to pay. In November...
Oh, my God.
Of 1973, an envelope containing a lock of hair and a human ear arrived at a daily newspaper in Italy. The second demand had been delayed 3 weeks by an Italian postal strike. Could you imagine? It took a while for the ear to get there. I can't. Anyways.
Oh, my God.
All right. The demand threatened that Paul would be further mutilated unless the victims paid $3.2 million.
Oof.
Dropping that from the 17, okay?
Oh, yeah, they had to lower their standards, right?
The demand stated, quote, "This is Paul's ear. If we don't get some money within 10 days, then the other ear will arrive. In other words, he will arrive to you in little bits." Close quote. When the kidnappers reduced their demand to $3 million, Getty agreed to pay no more than 2.2. Still equivalent to $15.5 million today.
But why that's very specific number, Anna?
It was the maximum that could be tax deductible.
Oh my God.
He wanted to deduct it on his taxes.
Well, convenient tax write-off there.
The max was $2.2 million. He lent his son the $800,000 his son couldn't drum up to pay the $2.2 million. So Grandpa only ended up giving $800,000. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of money to us. This is not a lot of money to him.
We're not. But I'm saying, so 2.2 mil he's going to use as a tax write-off.
He's going to use it as a tax, right?
And then he loaned the rest to his son.
The rest to his son at 4% interest.
Oh my God.
Okay, I don't want to get lost in the details because that's, we're still...
Good God.
That's all horrendous, but we are dealing with a young man who's been kidnapped, right?
Yeah.
Getty's son, or grandson, was found alive on December 15th, 1973, in a Lauria filling station in the province of Potenza, shortly after the ransom was paid. After his release, the younger Getty called his grandfather to thank him for paying the ransom, but Getty refused to come to the phone.
Wow.
9 people associated with the Ndrangheta were later arrested for the kidnapping, but only 2 were convicted. Getty III was permanently affected by the trauma and became a drug addict. After a stroke brought on by a cocktail of drugs and alcohol in 1981, he was rendered speechless, nearly blind, and partially paralyzed for the rest of his life.
Well, my God, can you imagine, number one, the trauma that he would have went through?
I mean he was held for 6 months by people who were willing to chop him up into bits. Like, this was not a comfortable stay for him, right?
Could you imagine them taking appendages and mailing them off, and you just have to sit there and wait?
No, it's horrendous.
Praying that your family will bail you out, essentially.
Well, imagine the initial shock, right? Well, I mean, I guess that's a secondary. The initial shock is obviously being kidnapped. But then you know how incredibly wealthy and powerful your family is. And literally months go by. And you know he is being verbally, emotionally tortured by his kidnappers by the fact, or you know what I mean, with the fact that his family won't pay for him. Could you imagine how that would make a 16-year-old feel?
And then when he gets out and tries to thank him, he won't even take the phone call. Well, I guess the time, I mean, to be fair here, Anna, the time on that phone is money. You know, he had to, maybe he tried to call him collect. And
I can't fathom how worthless you would feel.
Right. I mean, but calling him on that payphone, dude, you know.
So this is one of 14 grandchildren John Paul Getty had.
Yeah.
And you know, cousins being cousins, like, this would have affected all of them, and it would have educated all of them on where they rank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, mind your P's and Q's, dude, because you're not hot shit
Nobody
just because
cares.
your last name is Getty, bro.
Well, that the people, the people that they love most, right? The world might care. The people they love most.
Yeah.
Don't care.
And I think this hit, moving it back to Andrew, who we're going to focus on for the majority of this and probably the rest of this, as far as the Getty family goes.
It's just a good setup for, like, this is this man's world, right? His insulated world, you know?
Yeah,
his family world.
He was deeply affected by this kidnapping, this whole story, and like you said, just knowing that this could happen to a family member, and here were the circumstances surrounding that with your own family when they had the chance to get this man out of hot water, you know what I'm saying? And not only that, but this fear, it was exacerbated because there were assassination attempts on family members throughout the years, you know, that he had remembered from when he was a young kid. So he was scared. Andrew Getty was a scared young man.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, friends of Andrew's couldn't believe, you brought this up earlier, couldn't believe that the family didn't provide him with security detail.
Weird.
They couldn't believe that. They couldn't believe that they let him just live in Los Angeles by himself.
Yeah.
Which, you know, he wanted to be out there because he wanted to be closer to the entertainment industry. I mean, let's be honest, you know, if you're wanting to make film, LA is where it's at.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
the place to be. Yeah.
That's the place to be, especially if you have the bankroll to live there.
Yeah. Until
Until you can realize these dreams or even have an attempt at it. But yeah, they couldn't believe that they're letting him live in such a high profile area and be such a high profile person. No security, and he's out there by himself, right?
Yeah.
So he ends up buying a mansion in the Hollywood Hills. Lucky him.
Nice.
Right? But it belonged to a composer, Miklos Rozsa. I'm not sure if I said that right. I'm not sure.
Miklos
Rozsa. And you know what? He loved film. He loved horror films, particularly. Was just obsessed with them. That's why he wanted. Couldn't imagine why. Maybe a little bit of trauma,
right?
You know,
like so cathartic.
Like he has to. Yeah, he might have to watch these to kind of calm down his anxiety or something.
Yeah,
They've done studies on that. But in addition to that, he also loved to party.
Oof. Uh-oh.
Okay. Yeah, and in a twist. Because when you hear party, you think, oh, party animal. He's a social madman. You know, he's the life of the party. No, he was still a recluse.
Wow.
Like most of the people he were hanging out with were other, what would you go, like trust fund or Nepo babies or, just other high class people that he knew like, okay, well, these come from other rich, trusted families.
Right, so the children of the people his parents would have socialized with.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I would say a lot of it are people that he went to school with.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Or, somebody that has that built-in thing. But he was, at the end of the day, he was a recluse. Like, people didn't see him a lot.
Yeah.
Even though he was a party animal. But still, he wanted to make his own horror film.
Wow. Okay, so how did Andrew get started on that?
All right. So he decided that he was going to make this film, which he called The Storyteller. Now, that is the original title of his film.
Okay.
And we are going to get back into
what we like to call the working title, right?
Yeah. So this is not the title that ended up being printed.
Right.
Right. And we're going to get back to that in a little bit. But he called it The Storyteller. And it follows a lonely, mentally handicapped boy who befriends his reflection in an antique mirror. This demonic creature orders him to go on a murderous rampage to kill the people that he loves most. Now, this story, pretty morbid, pretty dark, right? It's like there's a lot to unfold there if you really want to look into it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But it was mainly inspired by Getty's own childhood dealing with these recurring nightmares. Like every night he's having these crucial nightmares for years.
Yeah.
They won't leave him alone.
Yeah. So he wrote this film and went on to direct it, right?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So essentially, well, one of his friends came forward. Ryan Redenauer, I believe is the way you would say that name. And I'll just tell you this. He said, quote, when he was young, he would have these really powerful, sick, twisted dreams. And they were so shocking to him that he didn't think they even came from him.
Aww.
Yeah, so Getty essentially thought that the storyteller, hence the original title, themselves could be responsible for the dreams that he was having, as if someone or something were planting these dark, disturbing dreams into a person's mind.
Yeah. And I don't mean to laugh about that because it's so true, but Pete Holmes, the comedian Pete Holmes, has a bit about what assholes our brains are,
right, for
giving us nightmares, right? But that because we know it is our own brain that feeds us nightmares, and it's like same feeling. Like you wish it was somebody else. Like that's, they can be so bad. You don't want to believe your own mind is doing that.
But it's like, why this is the ultimate betrayal, bro.
The ultimate betrayal.
Why is my mind trying to scare me right now, dude? Like in the most crazy ways. Like your mind just dreams up stuff that's not even real. Like we've all had the dream where we've fallen off of a cliff or drove off a mountainside or off of a bridge.
Yeah.
Something. Your mind will come up with some crazy creatures that.
Or when you're being chased and you're trying to run, but you're really just moving in slow motion.
Which I think Wes Craven and A Nightmare on Elm Street don't get enough credit for that. Because you remember when Nancy goes to run up the steps and they kind of turn into this
goo. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like
slows her down. She can't get up them. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah. So Andrew takes this idea. Now this is an interesting concept so far, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of people out there, a lot of entrepreneurs or filmmakers, they're idea people.
Right.
They're not necessarily executors.
Not necessarily.
And they also, I've heard it a million times that idea men are a dime a dozen. That's not the thing. It's the people who stick and then make that dream into a reality.
Yeah. It turns
so to
out
speak.
Andrew didn't have that problem.
Not at all. So he has absolutely no experience whatsoever making a film.
Right.
None at all. If you go to Andrew's IMDb,
that's it.
He has one credit.
Right.
And it is for a director and writer.
But I was going to say, but wearing multiple hats, right?
Multiple.
Right.
Multiple. So he decides, dude, hey, I'm all in. This is an idea that deserves to be presented in front of an audience. And it is my dream to make a horror film. And this is the one I want to make. So he decides that he is going to go forward with this idea. And most people who are millionaires decide that, like, hey, man, you know, I'm going to go the Jason Blum route and not have a creative bone in my body. I'm just going to hire puppet men to create this dream for me. I want a horror film. Go create it.
Right.
You know, he doesn't even come up with the ideas,
Andrew.
for God's sakes.
Not
Andrew. He decides, I have $1 million bucks. I'm going to finance it myself, and I want to make it myself.
Wow. So how much, I mean, $1 million bucks, haha. How much did he actually put into making the movie?
It's not
no one's quite sure,
concrete, but his friends have estimated that he ended up spending somewhere in the ballpark of $4 to $6 million, which did ruin him financially.
Ouch.
Yes, there's interviews with his friends where they said, you know, and it's kind of interesting to look back as poor folk ourselves, right? They're like, he went from eating steak, you know, one week to where we would see him just eat nothing but cereal for a month. And it's like, well,
we know how that goes.
Right.
I do love cereal though.
Yeah. Like, right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, that's not too, but I mean, yeah. So it took a very big financial toll on him. Now, there were ways that he saved some money. I mean, well, he owned it already, but he didn't have to go and rent out sets or a studio or a warehouse to film him. He actually used his own mansion.
Yeah.
You know,
it's beautiful. I mean, it's stunning.
Oh my God. If you haven't seen pictures of it, HorrorFam, you need to go look up his mansion, because you're not only going to see it in the movie, but the movie doesn't even do it justice.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I was going to say, one of the interesting things about his filmmaking is that he does manage to make what is this extravagantly large and kind of airy home. You know, it's one of the old, like, Spanish influenced, like, very open homes that you see a lot of in Southern California. He makes it feel much like cozier. You know what I mean? It's a little, to the point where by the end of the movie, it gets very kind of claustrophobic feeling. Yeah. He used some really interesting, set design and techniques to like change the feel of it while still.
Oh my God, yeah, and we'll get into that, because some of the techniques he was able to achieve are just mind blowing. But so he used his own mansion, but you know, he did need actors and actresses, so he was able to lock down. Now, there's some recognizable faces in his film, and
it's full of recognizable faces.
It's full.
Yeah,
it's very surprising, actually.
Yeah, I mean, even the side characters, or the little characters who were in the film for, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes of screen time are recognizable character actors. Even if you're like, you couldn't name them off the top of your head, you'd be like, oh, I know that guy. You know, all of them.
Sean Patrick Flannery from The Boondock Saints.
He was in one of the Saw movies.
Yes.
He's in Masters of Horror. He's in
tons of stuff. Tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Dina Meyer, speaking of Saw, she is also in it. She plays Agent Carrie, and she's also in like Starship Troopers, stuff like that. And then Michael Berryman, who really needs no introduction if you're a horror fan. He is a horror legend.
Yeah.
You know, you may remember him from stuff like The Hills Have Eyes or The Devil's Rejects. This dude was just all over the place.
He's so creepy in this movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Now, you know, he locks them down. Never made a movie before. These people had no clue
what they were
getting into here, man.
Yeah.
No, absolutely no clue what their future was about to look like. So, but he hits the ground running, right? He's got his set, he's got his cast, he's got his financing.
Yeah.
He's ready to go, man. He starts principal photography, stuff like that in like 2002.
Wow. Okay.
But movies, I mean, now they really speed through them. I mean, you can shoot a flick. I mean, some movies, on 14 days.
Right.
We've had guests on here that have, or directors on here that have told us, dude, I was able to shoot that in 14 days.
Right. And I feel like it used to be, especially large scale, large budget films, they could spend months and months, if not a year, filming, right? But this went beyond that.
It did. So principal photography in 2002, right? So he has officially started. This thing doesn't even have an IMDb page until 2005.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, that was brand new, right?
No, I mean, it was out by then, but to be fair, a lot of productions, that's the most exciting part, right? You get a list
that you're in production.
People get so stoked for the label of being a filmmaker, especially independent filmmakers. I've seen it so many times. People will list something and then they'll never shoot it.
Oh no!
But 3 years later, it gets its first IMDb listing, which is just kind of crazy, but also gives you a look into maybe what's going on behind the scenes. Like, oh, this isn't complete. I mean, this was going on for 3 years already. That's unheard of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely unheard of. Yeah. And it didn't help. This dude became an absolute perfectionist.
Yeah.
Perfectionist.
Yeah, you can tell.
You can tell. When we'll get to talking about the movie later, you can absolutely tell this dude did some things that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Like it is a different kind of film. But he became a perfectionist. I mean, you got to think like Stanley Kubrick level, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want you guys to do this again. I want this camera exactly right here. I want this perfection, obsessing frame by frame.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly what he wanted. He went on to build, now, once again, no experience in filmmaking whatsoever.
Yeah.
And, he was able to hire some crew and stuff like this. But this dude went on to like build his own animatronics and stuff and do some of his own special effects. I mean, some of these animatronics are so elaborate. There is even an octopus in the film, animatronic, that can play the drums. Now there's
it's pretty cool.
And don't worry, I did not spoil anything for you. This is a very novelty moment in the film.
It is.
But it is a practical effect. It is an animatronic. And just imagine an octopus with his tentacles playing the drum. I mean, for somebody who's never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then he would build like these insane camera rigs, right? Like he would want a shot and they would have to build rigs for it, or he would build them himself. Like he wanted this very elaborate shot or wanted this very elaborate in-camera special effect, which this film is filled with a ton of those. It's actually really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like,
so he became both like a filmmaker and an engineer.
Like he had to do it all.
His movie made the way he wanted it.
He had to do it all. And he was willing to put in the work. He was willing to go the extra mile. I mean, he took rooms of his mansion and transformed those rooms into different set pieces and stuff like that. And like you said, he reused it in a way where in the film, it does not feel like you're in a mansion whatsoever.
Oh, I know. I mean, you definitely get the vibe that you're in a very, very nice and probably large home, but not to the scale which this house actually is. And as a matter of fact, like, not only did he use the interior of his home and a number of the rooms, but he used this incredible back deck he has in this mansion for restaurant scenes. And you would never, I had no
You would never know.
idea.
As a
and
matter
then I
of
saw
fact,
pictures of the real mansion after we watched the movie, and I was like, oh my God, that's the restaurant.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was.
You just thought it was this beautiful, like, cliffside, very, bougie California restaurant, right?
Yeah,
No,
because
backyard, y'all.
Yeah, you took me to restaurants that looked like that in California.
Yeah.
Not necessarily bougie. I mean, God, we couldn't afford that, but it was like, well, we're up on the Palos Verde cliffs here.
Okay, it was a little bougie, all right.
Okay, it was bougie, but yeah, I mean, and this was part of his home.
Yeah,
you would like you said, you would never know.
Yeah.
But the problem is him doing all of this by himself, filming was rough.
Ooh.
Filming was rough, and we've already hinted about how long this whole process was taking. So filming would start and stop over the course of 5 years. A lot can happen in 5 years. And as a matter of fact, a lot did happen in 5 years because people get sick. Things happen. People move.
People move on, right?
Hell, houses burned down. If his mansion caught on fire, he'd have been in some real trouble, right?
Yeah.
If that octopus would have went nutso and one of his electrical wiring diagrams failed him, Andrew's out of a home and a studio. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yikes. But so over that course of 5 years, cast and crew would drop in and out.
Wow.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Michael Berryman, horror legend, talked about him earlier, and Fred Kohler, who plays the main kid in the movie.
Young man.
They are the only two who are left standing by the end of that film.
Wow.
They were the only two who still showed up.
You can tell, not in watching the movie. You can't tell. Like it's put together seamlessly. But at the end of the movie, it's the most bizarre run of credits you have ever seen.
Ever.
It almost looks like there's a glitch because jobs that you see listed in regular film credits, like a key grip, right?
Yeah.
You'll see like once, right? There's one key grip on. Yeah. Not in this movie. There's 5, 6, 7. And then their list like of grips that work under them are, like 50. And it's like stuff like that. Just, it was it was strange watching the credits. It really kind of was like a wake up. Oh my God, this really did take so long to film.
And the credits are totally sped up too because there are so many.
Yeah.
Like it's both the fastest credits you'll ever see and the longest.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's huge. I mean, well, okay, maybe not, but it is.
But strangest. For sure.
Seeing 5 different caterers, 10 different cooks, stuff like that.
And I think that's the deal, right? It feels like the longest because it's the string. It's like I said, jobs that you see 1 or 2 people in normal credits playing, and there'll be 10 of them, and so it's very strange. It's not like those monstrous credits you see at the end of a Marvel movie where there's so many people working in the animation departments, right?
Yeah.
This, there's nothing like that. But for your like run of the mill, like horror film, drama, really, so that all the credits should just be cameramen and stuff. It's like there's like 20.
Dude, it's insane.
It's bizarre.
It's insane. And like I said, a lot of people, and it's because a lot of people came and went.
Yeah.
They were there helping, and then they were gone 5 years later. They're gone. I mean, a lot of things can change.
Yeah, of course.
And like I said, Michael Berryman and Fred Kohler were still showing up, but Berryman was getting sick at that time.
Yeah.
And Matthew McGrory, who horror fans may remember as Tiny from House of 1,000 Corpses or The Devil's Rejects. This is actually his last film he ever did before passing away.
Wow.
Yeah, he was getting sick and stuff too, and so things had to be changed. The script had to be changed around and stuff like that to accommodate for some of these illnesses and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So it, but 5 years, we're done.
Okay.
We're done.
Done filming.
We're done filming, right? But the problem is
because now there's post-production.
Post-production, yes. And this is where we kind of get into, I kind of lump these two together. They're inherently intertwined. There's no way to separate these, because now we're getting to the tail end of the story, really. The post-production and death.
And Andrew's death.
Coincide.
Like intertwined.
With each other. Oh. You know what I'm saying? So we make it to post-production. And, well, now you have to edit this film.
And he takes this on himself as well.
He does.
Correct?
He does. Yeah. We still need to edit. We got to color grade. We got to do music. We got to do all that good stuff, right?
Things that, like, aren't just art. They're also highly technical, highly skilled jobs, right? These are completely different areas of film. The editors aren't even on set. Right.
The color graders aren't going to be on. I mean, this is nuts.
Yeah.
This is nuts. This is a whole different. This is when you ship those film canisters off to someone else, man.
To an expert.
Yeah, and they take over. But hey, Andrew's like, hey, man, I've got 5 years in. I'm still amped. I still want to make this film.
Yeah.
And he converts an area of his mansion into his own editing studio.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm so jealous right now, because I've seen like Robert Rodriguez do this. Like Robert Rodriguez has his own killer editing studio in his mansion. And it's like Andrew did exactly the same thing so he could continue to work on this film. Thing is, you have to remember this is a lot of time here. Andrew is still the party dude. Andrew has an itchy nose.
Oh no.
Yeah, he is on drugs, namely methamphetamine is a big one.
Oh.
Cocaine is a big one for him, in addition to it. Because once in my experience with some of the people I've grown up around who have been addicts and stuff like that, once you start listening, those are just the big ones. They're on many other things too that you don't even care to list.
Right. And from a lot of the people we've dealt with and just other things we've read, if you're on uppers, you're also on downers, so you can get some rest.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In the in-between time. Yeah.
Tons of things. I mean, so he's got the drugs on, and this is probably, for those of you wondering, because I've been around some of these people. Don't do it myself. I'm going to throw that out there right now. Very proud of that.
Make it clear.
Very proud of that. But I've been around a lot of people, unfortunately, that are on these drugs and stuff like that. And especially with meth, you see a lot of hyper fixation on things.
Right.
So that could have been why he was such a perfectionist. I mean, to somebody who's on meth, you could empty out 1,000 M&Ms on this desk right now and tell them that you only want yellow ones.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it takes them 16 hours.
Yeah.
They will count out every single yellow M&M on this table.
Well, and I think it's important for this story to mention that, and it's something, I'm sure quite a bit of the audience is aware of, but just in case, like when you bring meth into the mix, you see both mental health and physical health deteriorate rapidly, right?
Rapidly.
Much more quickly than, say, some other substances people might be on.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the very first time you do meth, the first hit you take, it does brain damage right away.
Wow.
Right away. Starts eating that lining.
Oh, terrifying.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then
he's dealing with a lot. There's a lot going on.
He's dealing with that. And then you also have the cocaine mixed in, which lends to paranoia, extreme paranoia.
Yeah.
So that, I know that he's ended up taking these substances, I'm sure, to deal with his own demons.
Right.
But now they're also contributing to them.
Right.
Because, this probably lends to why he's a recluse.
Right. Right.
So, and meth too.
So he's masking more than likely, like some mental health issues, right? Some trauma, some anxiety, some depression.
Yeah. And none of this stopped during post-production. None of this stopped. He's still doing this, and he's still, I mean, you would probably have to be committed to film this long, right?
Well, and this is almost worse, right? Because during filming, he's surrounded by other people who are working on the movie. People are counting on different time frames, right? If Sean Patrick Flannery shows up to film today, you are filming today.
Yes.
Right. So then now you leave someone with all of these various issues at home alone to do the editing.
Yeah.
Right. And any kind of time frame kind of falls apart. Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it doesn't help because he's on drugs and stuff like this. So that introduces other problems. I mean, the cops had apparently been to his mansion 31 times.
Oh.
31.
Wow.
31 times the cops have been there. He had to end up filing a restraining order on an ex-girlfriend. I mean, so there's some toxic stuff going on there because apparently you hit the nail on the head. He was suffering a lot of health issues. And doctors told him, dude, your blood pressure goes up. It could cause irreversible damage. If you have a spike in blood pressure, we're talking irreversible damage here. So he's like, hey man, he's telling the court, like, I got to do something. I can't have this girl around me because if she stresses me out, I could die.
Yeah.
You know, irreversible damage or he dies. And that's unfortunately where we're headed.
No. Okay.
Because while all this is going on, the cops are showing up. He's filing these restraining orders. He is continuing to painstakingly edit this film to the best of his abilities. You know what I'm saying? And it is a film he's working on that he will never live to see. He would never get to watch his own film. On March 31st, 2015, at the age of 47 years old, they found Andrew Getty naked from the waist down, lying on his bathroom floor, surrounded by drug paraphernalia.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
How sad. How heartbreaking.
And as a matter of fact, it was his ex-girlfriend
who found him.
Yeah.
Who wasn't even supposed to be there?
Who wasn't. Yeah. She got the cops in, you know,
there's so much there.
Yeah. She got the cops involved in all that. Like, look, he's a recluse. He's all this stuff. We need to look in, you know. And, you know, he had been having major bowel issues. Like he wasn't able to use the restroom at points. And then when he was, it would be bloody diarrhea.
Oh, no.
Stuff like that. And he kind of attributed that to the cocaine use.
Okay.
So he thought in his mind that it was the cocaine. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I know cocaine causes a lot of other problems.
Right.
But that's what he attributed that to. He was diagnosed with an aneurysm. And, you have the blood pressure stuff that the doctors warned him about and tons of other stuff.
Yikes.
Tons of other stuff. And they told him this is from years of drug use. I mean, this is what the damage has been caused by, whether, it was directly the cocaine. It was from years of drug use that gave him that, kick-started and, eventually, I mean, he died with drugs in his system.
Wow.
And he officially, on record, died of a hemorrhaging ulcer.
Oof. Well, that would explain the pants.
Yeah.
Poor baby.
And, I mean, I just couldn't imagine that.
No.
I mean, that had to be... I mean, I assume something like that, an ulcer, I don't have any experience with those. I've seen Dumb and Dumber, though, and I know that dude was on medication for having an ulcer, and he acted like it hurt, and that's how he died.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's hemorrhaging, he bled out, basically, is what happened. He bled to death.
And I imagine it gets to a point where if you have that issue, like an ulcer that bad, he's probably doing
more drugs.
He
would have been in an incredible amount of pain.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I guess that would depend on where the ulcer is. Because anyways, yes.
And it's sad because, they've talked to some of his friends since then. And some have came out and said that we're not surprised.
Oh.
They said, as a matter of fact, with as much cocaine as he was doing, we're surprised his heart just didn't flat out give up. Yeah. And that's an end on Andrew Getty. His film remained in that mansion with no one left to edit it.
So how have we gotten our hands on it? On what is actually a finished film?
So Michael Luceri steps in,
okay,
who is a friend of Andrew Getty and also worked on the film as an editor-producer.
Okay.
So he steps in and he's like, I want to get my hands on this footage because his friend Andrew worked so hard on this film. He felt like it deserved to be finished. So he wanted to power through for his boy.
Oh, I love
you know what
that.
I'm saying? He's like, I'm gonna fulfill your dream for you, man. This is your legacy. This was all the legacy he had.
Yeah.
This was it.
Right.
And Michael Luceri steps in. I want to say his name again because, man, we could all deserve a friend like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So he does. He gets his hands on the footage only to find out, oh my God, this isn't even close
to being finished. Oh, yeah.
Like it was, there's different reports
of how much done,
was finished. I would say it's safe to say that Andrew had completed 50%.
Okay.
Of the film.
Yeah. So enough bones to give Michael Luceri like an idea of where he was going with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And probably an idea of Andrew would have wanted this. I'm sure he already saw the stylistic choices.
Style at that point had been established, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So Michael Luceri takes over, finishes the film. I mean, we're talking color grading, sound design, editing, all of it.
All post.
He tackled it for him, man.
Wow.
And the film goes on to debut in 2017 at some festivals under the title The Evil Within.
Wow.
So it is no longer Andrew Getty's The Storyteller. It is now The Evil Within. And that's for a couple reasons.
Yeah.
Well, really
it makes
only
sense
one.
to me.
Really only one. Well, for marketability.
Yeah.
And the name, to be fair, both names are good for the film itself.
Sure, yeah.
They do suit the film. But also because there was a popular video game at the time called The Evil Within, and it's a thing in horror where still to this day, where you try to cash in on name recognition.
Gotcha.
Even if it's a bastardization. It's
already out there in the zeitgeist, right? Yeah. Take advantage of that flow, that energy flow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So marketability and a video game is essentially why it was titled The Evil Within. So for those of you who want to check it out, that is how you do it. It took a total, Anna, of 15 years.
Yeah. Right?
To complete
Principal
that
photography started in 2002. And Michael got it out in 2017. So yeah.
Yeah, at some festivals. It took 15 years.
Wow.
For that movie to come out, and just
how can people see it now?
That's the sad thing. I think just because to me this is how the insult used to be, when a movie didn't make it to theaters, well, that's a straight to video release, and that was a bad stigma to have attached.
Yeah, I don't think that's true anymore, but yeah.
Well, I think now it's even more of an insult to say it went straight to streaming.
Yeah.
I just think it is.
I think so many movies are made for streaming platforms now. Like a lot of streaming platforms consider themselves like production companies now.
I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame because it took 15 years for this film to get made. The man who made it died.
Yeah.
While it was being made, and it ends up, listen to me, it ends up being released on video on demand on streaming. And you can even find it on YouTube for free right now. So
that's too bad.
I just think that.
Well, but I mean, I understand, it's like because anything else is, well, who's making money off the movie?
Yeah.
And I get it. You could set up, his friends or heirs or whatever could set something up so that the money is going to something they think that would benefit from the money for that. But that's just a whole thing. I think it sounds to me like the stance was just, we're putting it out there for people to see, right? And the bummer to me about it is if they're not going to sell hard copies, for people like us who collect horror films, like that would be a really, really cool movie to have.
I think they actually have. I need to look. I'm not sure. This isn't confirmed, so don't take this.
But you're hoping.
Take it with a grain of salt. I'm hoping. I think they actually have. And I think there may even be some commentary.
Oh, that would be really interesting.
I need to research that more because I want it on my shelf. Absolutely. Because I'm going to tell you something. This film now.
Because we watched it.
We did.
This isn't just the story of how this movie got made. We watched it.
And I want to tell y'all that I really thought going into this movie, because critics both loved and hated it.
Okay.
Fans, it wasn't well received by.
Really?
Yes. And I thought going in, I'm intrigued by the lore. Can't wait to watch it. I'm caught up in it. I need to watch this movie.
Yeah.
But I was expecting, first time filmmaker, dude didn't know what he was doing, all this tragedy, all the production nightmare that was going on, production hell. I did not expect much at all. I thought it was going to be bad, and maybe the critics who loved it were just, it's being a little snooty.
Snooty.
Right. I thought that, but I'm telling you now, this movie, I enjoyed it. I think it's a shame he didn't get to see it finished. I think, and you never hear about never hear about this film. And I think that's kind of a shame. I liked it.
Yeah. I was set up kind of in the same way. I mean, you hear about all, because you had kind of you had read a little bit of his life story. And that's how you got into wanting to see the movie, right? And so that's what I heard first. And it's like you picture a lot of things. Like one, it's going to be amateurish, but two, if you watch enough movies long enough, you'll come across movies that have been in production hell, right? Where they've taken years to make, maybe different directors have come in at various times, different things have gone on, and you can tell. You watch the movie and it feels disjointed. It feels like different hands were in the pot, things like this movie is not that at all. No. It feels very seamlessly made by a single filmmaker.
Very purposefully.
Very purposely. Like it doesn't, I mean, it's quirky. Don't get me wrong, but seamlessly so. Like it feels like a very cohesive project. Like it does not feel like, multiple crews, starts and stops. You don't feel that while you're watching the movie at all. Now
it does have some issue. I'm not going to sit here and sanctify the film because somebody passed away making it and say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I will tell you, it does suffer from some things, but they're not just outlandishly bad. There's some that are just, Ed Wood or, The Room or something like that. That are just, they're just flat out horrible. This movie does have things that are a little bit off. It's an unconventional filmmaking.
Yeah.
But it is fun. It is a different movie to watch. You will not forget it.
Yeah.
This is a film you will not forget, and it's a filmmaking experience.
Well, and the story is very dark. So if that's your thing, like it is
Oh,
not,
it's so dark.
It is so dark.
And we were even confused. We were even thinking at one point that like, ooh, this writing could have been a little bit tighter. Like then it gets,
it tricked me.
Oh man.
It tricked me. There's a twist. There's a twist at the end that explains why some things feel a little off in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, absolutely. And I think as horror fans, I don't think you can call yourself a horror fan without having taken a nice deep dive into B films, right?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, this like skates that edge, right? Like it is, it's not something that feels big production company
not at all.
But neither does it feel low budge, right?
No,
like you never get that sense of like, oh my God, this movie is so B, like at all. No. And as a matter of fact, like I agree with you. It definitely has various like issues, but
none major,
none that kind of pull you out of the movie. And as a matter of fact, like some of the creativity of how it's filmed.
Oh man.
And, some of the camera tricks and editing tricks they use make the like lack of maybe expertise less noticeable, right? It's like really, really clever camera tricks. Right? There's
it's insane.
As I'm sure you've gathered from everything we told you about the movie and what the story is and what's going on is there's a lot of like nightmarish type things going on, a lot of nightmare sequences, and they even do things like make the camera like jitter so that some of the effects that maybe would otherwise look cheesy look really effective and make them feel like an actual nightmare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like makes you feel like, oh God, that's what my nightmares feel like. That's horrible.
This movie is extremely surreal.
Yes. Yeah.
The in-camera effects, whether you're watching it as a viewer, a filmmaker, an aspiring filmmaker, or a freaking creative, you are going to sit there and be like, holy cannoli.
Yeah.
This dude, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, and I don't even know if I could because some of these effects are so crazy.
Yeah.
You won't believe that somebody did them. Yeah. And I'm just talking about like some of the in-camera effects or filming techniques that are just wackadoo, man. But they're so effective. They're so good. And it's so impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, if this had been done by another filmmaker, if these had been done by Martin Scorsese, people would remember them to this day. They'd be talking about some of these sequences, like that follow shot. And if it was Quentin Tarantino with some of the stuff that he tried with the story and the pacing, you'd never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
Like if this had been if this was Quentin Tarantino's student film, it would be lauded as one of the greatest films. I mean, and that's not hyperbole. I mean, I'm being honest. Like this, you're going to see stuff that you've never seen before. I mean, I can't even, I've tried to come up with something that might be close on how they pulled off some of these effects. You really kind of can't. I mean, I can sit here and pull stuff out of my ass. Like, well, maybe the House on Haunted Hill remake for like some of the effects mixed with the Evil Dead. Maybe I mean, but then again, no. There's definitely because it's more unique. Like it's weird.
There are definitely some effects that go on in the film that are totally unique. Like I have absolutely never seen before. Now that's not to say that my film experience is exhaustive, but I've never seen before. Like there were some really interesting things, and even the. What would you like the normal quote unquote, right? Like the moments in the film that should feel like normal interaction always feel just slightly off. So you're
Yes.
never really sure like when you're
Unnerving.
in the nightmare and when you're not. And it does.
It captures the feeling of a night. How the hell did they do that? They captured the feeling of a legitimate nightmare. Andrew Getty did. I don't want to say they.
Yeah. No, I mean, Andrew Getty absolutely did. He did. I mean, that's, I guess, how impactful these dreams were on him. But also, you know, it plays with traditional film structure. And I don't like some of it. I think the pacing suffered a little bit. Yeah. But eventually it does catch up to itself. Yeah.
But I mean, when your biggest complaint about a film is the pacing was a little off for some of the movie. That's all. I mean, you know, so I'm not going to sit here.
I was going to say that's my biggest complaint about the movie. I really do think it like suffered from some pacing issues, but that is really like my my big complaint about the movie. So, otherwise, I was extremely entertained. I was definitely like, even there are moments that like made me mad at the movie. And I'm not going to give any spoilers away either, but there were moments that made me mad at the movie, which I think even that tells you something, right? Like I was in it.
It evoked emotion.
I was
so
in the movie, right?
Yeah, so he got you.
He got me. And then, like I said, like some of that felt like some writing issues. And at the end, you're like, oh my God, I get it. Now I get it. Now I see what I was missing that was like making me mad. So,
So, you know, I mean, so HorrorFam, what I'm saying is, you know, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke out your ass and say, hey, you know, this is a 10 out. I'm not saying that, but I'm telling you right now, man, this has some really good lore to it. If you are a horror movie fan, watch it.
Yeah.
If you are a film fan, watch it.
Yeah.
If you are a filmmaker, an aspiring watch it.
Oh,
seriously,
absolutely.
because you're not going to see anything else like it, at least not right now. And nobody knows about that. Like nobody's talking about this movie.
Yeah.
You never hear anybody talk about this movie. You're not going to find much information on it.
Yeah. No, I think it's something that the horror fan would really enjoy. Like, you know, right. I think like our favorite horror film we've seen in the theater in the last couple of years was Final Destination Bloodlines, right?
Yep.
We're not trying to say it's that, y'all.
It's not.
But easily better than a lot of the other horror films we've seen in theater the last few years, let alone on streaming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is. Like I thought so. Yeah. Like it's definitely more interesting. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely more interesting than a lot of the other horror films we've seen.
And what a story behind it. I mean, you know, you got it. I mean, it is. I feel like that's the least I could do for that filmmaker. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Is watch a film that he was working on that it ultimately took 15 years to come out, and it was worked on it till the day he died.
Yeah.
And his friend steps in, takes the reins, finishes it for, I owe him that, and I'll buy it on physical if I can find it.
Yeah.
Not the greatest thing. Not going to sit here and tell you it's, you know, because of the lore behind it and let that, you know, cloud my, but I still think it does deserve to be seen.
No, and rewatched. I would rewatch it.
Yeah, and I think it's a story that did deserve to be told, and I do applaud him for what he was able to accomplish. That was very ambitious.
Oh, extremely. Especially all the hats he wore.
Because a lot of filmmakers, unless you're Robert Rodriguez, your first film is going to be something, you know, well, I'm going to use the assets I have with the know-how I have.
Legitimately right? Like it's,
you know? Yeah, I'm not making fun of anybody at all, but I'm saying like what I'm trying to get to, and this is more of a hit at me than anyone else, is like, I couldn't imagine this being my first film I tried to make. I could not I couldn't even begin to imagine how he pulled some of that stuff off. And I'm telling you now, man, some of them effects are really gross too. And I mean, I don't even feel like we touched on that. Like,
it gets pretty gross.
In addition to his animatronics, which are very interesting and disturbing and also concerning.
Yeah.
Some of those special effects, man, are so creepy.
Yeah.
So creepy. They're on a different level in some aspects. I mean, it's like Guillermo del Toro mixed was Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead. It's weird, mixed with David Cronenberg.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
definitely leans into the body horror for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's it, Horror Fam. It is now called, the Storyteller is now referred to as The Evil Within. That is its official title. If you want to check it out, like I said, it is on streaming platforms. You can even find it for free on YouTube at this point. And I just want to ask you, Horror Fam, after this incredible story we have just shared with you, I want you to leave a comment, whether you're watching this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. What was the most shocking part of this story? Out of everything I want to know what is the most shocking part. And Anna, I want you to answer that too. Like, I mean, was it the kidnapping? Was it his death?
I think it was the kidnapping. You know, I mean, you hear so many stories about, I mean, sadly, I mean, in this day and age, you hear so many stories about what drug addiction does to so many people and their families. But you hear a lot of these like wealthy recluse, died alone in his home stories.
Yeah.
As sad as that is, but you kind of do. But the fact that, I mean, especially for me, growing up in the Getty's backyard, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, we as school kids, we were kind of taught to admire John Paul Getty.
Yeah.
And so hearing that story as a lead in to the life his grandchildren were leading was shocking to me.
Yeah.
Shocking to me. I mean, this is somebody who was, you know, one of America's first billionaires. And he just refused to pay his grandson's ransom. It's outrageous. But anyways, so that's the most shocking
there's
part
a
of
lot
that
they
story
could have
for me.
done there for that kid.
Yeah.
A lot, you know, that didn't require being a jerk.
No.
Causing him to lose his ear and eventually his life because of the trauma.
Yeah.
But
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
How about you? What was the most shocking part of the story for you?
I would say the saddest part for me, I mean, easily the scariest shock is the kidnapping. It's like, I couldn't imagine being held by people who want to do me harm over the course of months.
6 months.
And knowing that your family, like knowing that this is what they're trying to do and that your family hasn't come through for you yet, like you would feel so bad about yourself.
Yeah.
In addition to.
Right.
But I think it's all just a very, very sad story.
It is.
And I think the shocking part has to be that this film even exists.
Yeah.
15 years, and it wasn't by his hands that it was finished.
Yeah.
That footage could have, knowing his family and knowing that that's the estate that this mansion's going to go back to, they're going to sell it or whatever. Mm-hmm. And knowing how everybody else's family, I mean, there's family members out there that are foaming at the mouths waiting for their loved one to die so they can go in and hawk all their shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somebody could have just as easily came in there and threw all of that film in the trash can.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like everything we read in preparation for this and even reading about Getty Images, right, and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's another grandson of John Paul Getty who started that company. Yeah. And it really does sound to me like the grandchildren have really tried very hard to put their own stamps on the world.
Yeah.
So that's the place that, his cousins are all, and siblings, right? Like are all coming from, you know what I mean? Of, probably respecting the fact that he was trying to put his own stamp on the world.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, horror fam, please share this episode with your loved ones or somebody, for God's sakes. Come on, we need to build this podcast, man. Make a little redneck's dreams come true. A big redneck. Make a big redneck's dreams come true over here, okay? Hit that follow button. Leave a comment, rate us. We're trying to build up those 5-star reviews on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you've seen this movie or you watch it because of the podcast, please let us know. That's something else we would love to know. Leave those in the comments, or you can write to us anytime at contact@talkhorror.com.
Yeah, we live up to the name, Horror Fam. We want to talk horror with you. So if you have seen this movie and you have any thoughts on it at all, please let us know. We would love to hear them. All right, my friends, until next time, look horror,
listen horror,
talk horror, my friends. Mwah! We love every single one of you.